Hey there, listeners. Welcome to our exciting podcast, 5th Grade General Knowledge Challenge, Test Your Smarts. I'm Sophia, and I'm here with my co-host Jamal. Today we're going to put your knowledge to the test with some fun questions that every 5th grader should know. Are you ready, Jamal?
Absolutely, Sophia. I can't wait to see how our listeners do. Remember, even if you're not in 5th grade anymore, this is a great chance to refresh your memory on some important facts. Let's get started.
All right, here's our first question. Which American war occurred between the North and the South?
Great question, Sophia. The answer is the American Civil War, which lasted from 1861 to 1865. It was a conflict between the Union in the North and the Confederate States in the South.
Correct. Now let's move on to some science. Jamal, can you ask our next question?
Sure thing. Here's a tricky one. What is the name of the green pigment in plants that absorbs light for photosynthesis?
Ooh, I know this one. It's chlorophyll. Fun fact, the word chlorophyll comes from Greek words meaning green and leaf.
That's right, Sophia. Chlorophyll is super important for plants to make their own food. Now, let's switch gears to history. Who was the famous general that led the United States during the Revolutionary War?
That would be General George Washington. He later became the first president of the United States. Here's an interesting tidbit. Washington actually lost more battles than he won during the war, but he still managed to lead the country to victory.
Wow, I didn't know that about Washington. Okay, let's test our listeners' knowledge of government. Sophia, can you ask about the branches of government?
Sure. Listeners, can you name the 3 branches of the U.S. government? I'll give you a hint. One of them is the legislative branch, which was established by Article 1 of the Constitution.
Great hint. The other 2 branches are the executive branch, led by the president, and the judicial branch, which includes the Supreme Court. Together, these 3 branches form a system of checks and balances.
Excellent explanation, Jamal. Now let's see if our listeners know about some important events in U.S. history. What happened on May 17, 1954, in the case of Brown versus Board of Education?
That's a significant date in civil rights history. On that day, the Supreme Court ruled that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. This decision helped end racial segregation in schools.
You're absolutely right. It was a unanimous decision by all 9 Supreme Court justices. Now, let's lighten things up with a space question. When the moon blocks the sun, what do we call it?
That's called a solar eclipse. And here's a bonus fact. When the Earth's shadow falls on the moon, it's called a lunar eclipse. These can only happen during a full moon.
Great addition, Jamal. We've covered quite a range of topics today. Let's wrap up with one last question about U.S. states. Which state was the first to ratify the U.S. Constitution?
That honor goes to Delaware. On December 7, 1787, Delaware became the first state to ratify the Constitution. It's often called the first state because of this.
Excellent. Well, listeners, that concludes our 5th grade general knowledge challenge. How did you do? Remember, it's okay if you didn't know all the answers. Learning is a lifelong journey.
Absolutely, Sophia. Whether you're currently in 5th grade or it's been years since you were, it's always fun to test your knowledge and learn new things. Thanks for joining us today.
And remember, if you want to learn more about any of these topics, you can always check out books from your local library or look up reliable sources online. Keep learning and stay curious.
That's great advice, Sophia. Until next time, this is Jamal.
Then, and Sophia, signing off. Keep those brains working and we'll see you in our next knowledge challenge.